or uncomfortable on our benches. My name is John Lewis. I'm the General Secretary of the Society of Antiquaries. I'd like to welcome you all here today. You won't be hearing much from me, mercifully. My job is simply to tell you some of the housekeeping stuff. Right, if there are any fire alarms, if the fire alarm goes off, it's not a drill, it's the real thing. So please go through that door, turn right and go out into the courtyard and stand next to the statue of Sir Geoffrey Reynolds, carefully avoiding the scaffolding lorry which is delivering stuff to the RA. Toilets, the ladies are out that door, turn left, and then right down the end of the corridor, and the gentlemen's toilets are just left and left again. Phones, please turn your mobile phones off or turn them to silent. Tea and lunch. Now, those of you who had tea and coffee this morning will realise that you've got to go through into the council room opposite. Please, when you go in and get your tea and your lunch, your drinks and food, and move away from the table. It's very tempting to stand and have a chat near the table. That means everybody else can't get in to get to their drinks. Please keep your badges you've been given, and please bring them in tomorrow as well, and your delegate packs. We've only printed enough for the delegate. Please hang on to them. Don't leave them in your houses or hotels. And please, during the day and tomorrow, when you're asking questions, please identify yourselves so we can record who you are and where the questions are coming from. And if anybody wants to have Wi-Fi access while you're here, please see Renee Ledoux, Communications Officer, who will give you the password to get onto our network. Lunchtime today, if any of you would like to have a look around the building, please feel free to do so. Go upstairs and have a look in our library, have a wander around. But please don't take any food or drink up there, and please don't bring any food or drink in here, because we've got some rather some expensive stuff, I'm sure. We will try and look after for another 300 years. I think that is all housekeeping things I want to go through. So I will now hand you over to Professor Maurice Howard, President of the Society of Antiquaries, who will be followed by Professor Rick Rylance, Chief Executive of AHRC, and then finally by Sir Laurie Marriner, Chairman of the Society. So, Maurice?
Welcome to the Society of Antiquaries of London, and it's a great honour and pleasure for us to be hosting this event. I'll begin with just a very brief story which I think does illustrate one of the reasons why we're here and what this society has got to say and to offer to our deliberations. In Simon Furley's book, Men from the Ministry, you will see very careful and thorough investigation of the sorts of things that the antiquaries did in the 19th and 20th centuries to bring people together, to serve on boards, to make lists of ancient monuments and other things that the nation ought to take care of. But in the 18th century, in the 1720s, the great antiquarian William Stutely, one of our earliest fellows in our 300-year history, got very concerned about the state of the Waltham Cross, one of the three surviving element crosses, and prompted the society to pay some sums of money towards putting a wooden sort of bollard in front of it, one of the first recorded acts of preservation. In 1757, some 30 plus years later, Stutely went back and found not only the bollard being removed, but a great trench had been dug around the cross and things were in a pretty bad state. So he persuaded the local gentry to cough up and keep the cross in greater repair and to build a brick plinth to it in order to preserve it. And then finally, in the late 18th century, we have three splendid watercolours in our collection of the three element crosses, because we recorded them in the state they were in. Now that story seems to me to be very much about what the Society has always done. It has been at the centre, through our fellowship, of people who have noticed where things need attention. They have gone back and checked that things were still in the state they should be, and encouraged local communities, people locally who had money, to help support these things, and fundamentally to record them. And if society hadn't recorded the great interiors of Westminster, Cowbray House, etc., in the 18th century, we would be at a loss to know what some of our great historic interiors were like. We've gone on doing that as a conservation society, and today we give money through the William Morris Fund for the restoration of the furnishings of our churches up and down the United Kingdom. Many grants a year to help restoration of stained glass tombs, and the moving of fonts back to their original position, etc., etc. But it's really through our fellowship that we do the most, through the scholars that we bring together, archaeologists, art historians, people interested in the history of the material culture, not only in Britain, but throughout the world, that we have a contribution to make. And that's why I'm so pleased today that we're going on offering this particular role and this particular service to the heritage community in bringing together some of our leading organisations that care for, give money for, and maintain the heritage of this country. And also, and something I hope that will come out, as I've just touched on, the way in which Britain has led the world, for good or ill, on ways of maintaining heritage. Just as many of our colleagues from the Palace of Westminster go out and talk about the history of Parliament to countries throughout the world, so too we've had a lot of templates to offer for maintaining heritage, some of which are appropriate, some of which are not. But if we can get that right, we can be a beacon for the World Heritage community, and we've only got to look at the news to see how many challenges there are currently today. So, welcome. I hand over to Rick Rylance to speak on behalf of the HRC.
Thank you, Maurice, and my warm welcome to everybody as well. There are these two reasons why it's really important, this event. The first is the fact that it's collaborative. I think it is a unique possession of the UK in terms of heritage, that we have so many agencies, we have so many techniques, so many skilled individuals, and such a lively sense of public responsibility in relation to this, that it is great that 4 of those agencies are coming together to try and develop this programme. And so I think the first thing is, irrespective of whatever we say over the next day or two, which will be marvellous, irrespective of that, the very fact this is put together as a collaborative endeavour, I think is a key achievement. And I'd just like to thank those individuals, I won't name them now, who've been so busy, active in putting this together so quickly. Now the HRC is deeply committed to developing its work in the heritage. It's one of 3 priority areas for us, along with modern languages and design. And I anticipate as we enter new battles over funding and so on, that will remain one of our priorities in the years to come. And it's worth just pausing, I think, to think, why is that so important? Because it's something that resonates across the organisation. Not only is it in a general sense a priority for us, but it is also a key part of one of our major 4 themes, the theme which is to do with care for the future. And care for the future, again, a terrifically resonant phrase, which is, I think, in a nutshell, summarises our responsibilities and the way we're going to develop that. And we're grateful to have Professor Andrew Thompson, who you'll meet later on, who is the theme leader for that. Now, why? Why is it so important for us? Why is it so important for the HRC to develop it? Well, there are, at one end of things, technical challenges to do with the science of heritage. There are skills to be learned around curatorial governance. There are issues around regulatory and legal arrangements around responsibility, and it is key that we resource things. But the real reasons are to do with the fact that this is a unique position that the UK has. We have something which many other countries with whom I deal in the international research world simply do not have, which is this large, tangible, very, very active and vigorously supported heritage of culture and achievement. And we've got to try and look after that. And as Maurice says, we are in a real position to try and lead the world on this without any kind of hubris. I mean, we really are thought to be a point of reference in terms of these things. But secondly, it's also part of our national story, isn't it? Simon's fine book, The Men from the Ministry, has got lots of illustrations of people thinking about this and telling our national tale. Well, our national tale is, of course, complicated now by issues of imperialism and cultural diversity and so on and so forth. And to quicken that story, to bring it up to date, to think about its complexities and blindnesses, that is really so important. And then, finally, it is about identity, isn't it? It's about our sense of ourselves, it's our sense of how we care for the future and care for the past, and how we think about the ways in which we have developed and will develop in relation to those things. It's to do with issues of reason and interpretation, and public responsibility, and the development of the public good, and all those high-minded things which, being kind of vaguely British, we're a bit embarrassed about saying, but which these four agencies, I think, are charged with developing with great attention, great commitment, and indeed, and not, when you put it all together, not insignificant resource. So I hope very much that this partnership will not only attend to those sorts of ideas, quicken the debate around them, quicken the achievements that are coming from them, but will be, in terms of the collaboration, a beginning and not an end. And I look forward very much to hearing how the discussion goes. So thank you all for coming.
Well, thank you very much. My name is Laurie Magnus. I'm really pleased to be here at my first official engagement as chairman of English Heritage. It's been a bit of a whirlwind for me because I stepped down as deputy chairman of the National Trust less than 48 hours ago, having attended the 1025th meeting of its council. And the first meeting of the Trust's council took place in 1895, and it was attended by Lord Eversley, who was George Shaw Lefebvre, steered the first Ancient Monuments Act through Parliament in 1882, and who was the first Commissioner of Works. So I can loosely claim to be a far-off successor of Eversley, both at the Trust and in my new role. It demonstrates just one happy connection between those two remarkable organisations. The story of both the National Trust and English Heritage is obviously a key theme of this conference. The 1913 Ancient Monuments Act, which incidentally was presented by Eversley in the House of Lords, would not and could not have happened without the support of private individuals, campaigning societies, the press, and influential members of Parliament. The collaboration was vital to build the necessary bandwagon of public and parliamentary support for statutory heritage protection, but it was not easily achieved. So it remains essential that all of us who value our fantastic heritage should work closely together. And the fact that this conference is jointly organised by the AHRC, the Society of Antiquaries, the National Trust and English Heritage, and attended by such distinguished participants, clearly demonstrates that the passion which drove the likes of Octavia Hill, Robert Hunter, and Lord Eversley lives on. And a real sign of this working together is the National Heritage Protection Plan, the 4-year framework for the identification and protection of the most threatened heritage assets in England. Its aim is to coordinate heritage endeavour, expertise and funding drawn from across the sector to ensure scarce resources are directed to the most pressing issues. It's been described by Ed Vaizey, the Culture Minister, as the business plan for the heritage sector. The plan is being delivered by 10 heritage bodies, including English Heritage, with more to join, and it's achieving tangible protection of thousands of heritage assets in this country. Research is a critical part of it, and there is a useful and very important link with university research being funded through AHRC programs such as Care for the Future. And one theme at this conference will inevitably involve comparing the threats to heritage in 1913 with those that prevail today. Despite the tremendous success of our many visitor attractions and the popularity of history, whether factual or largely invented, in a multitude of books, apps, magazine articles, drama films and documentaries, our heritage is not safe. Henry Ford may be dead, but his successors, who consider history to be bunk or at best low priority, and who see most of us as a bunch of precious nimbies, are well and truly resurgent. Our challenge remains to demonstrate that our heritage could be protected in ways which promote economic growth, which create jobs, which enhance our landscape, which stimulate minds, which bring communities together with pride and purpose, and which act as a great force for good in our nation's well-being. I'm sure that you will bring much passion and expertise to this conference. Simon Furley, English Heritage's outstanding Chief Executive, has taken time off from the challenge of splitting the organisation into two, the statutory protection side on the one hand, and a charity owning our property collection on the other, in order to be here. As the author of the recently published Men from the Ministry, which has been talked about already, with all the royalties, I may say, going to his employer, he is a leading light in our sector. I hand over to him now. Sorry.